This is a weird little project that I'm working on this weekend. And this is an extension of another electric outboard motor build that I'm working on. I had built a small one and I showed the video of that a few weeks ago. And we used that on a little John boat for a short while, but it was way too small for the intended use. So on Facebook Marketplace, I found a Sears 45 horsepower outboard for 30 bucks. And we pulled the power head. So right now we're in the process of converting this over to use with the electric motor. Power head's off. There's a gentleman that wants to buy it, which is great. So we'll make our money back, our 30 bucks back for the purchase of the motor. This is our 2000 kilowatt e-bike kit right here. This is the Lovejoy connector, larger than the one I used for that smaller motor. And this is mounted on here. And what we did for the top of the drive shaft is we actually cut a spline in there. So there's a spline that's in there. This is nice and tight. We turn this and we have movement with our prop right there. But in order to couple this to our motor, we had to get a little creative. And here's where today's little fudge came into play. So this is the other coupler that goes on the motor. But the problem we had was this was too deep this way. And we had to thin this out a little bit to fit on that smaller shaft on the electric motor. So I don't have a metal lathe. And you can't, to the best of my knowledge, order these from Lovejoy that, and this was ordered through McMaster-Carr, but made by Lovejoy, that were narrower in this dimension. If you can, it's good to know, but I didn't see any that coupled with the appropriate coupler on the other end. So what we had to do is we had to cut this down. With a grinder, I cut off about 1/4 of an inch, a little more from there. But with a grinder, of course, you're not going to be true. And I wanted to clean this up a little bit. As everybody has seen, a lot of folks have seen, this is a cross vise that Harbor Freight sells. And this was on clearance. I paid $79 for it. And I have plans to use this on my drill press, which is what it's designed to be used for. But for this little project, for a cross vise, for my Wen wood lathe, I wanted to see if this would work. And it does. I'm not recommending this, I'm just sharing this. So these are some carbide cutters that I bought a long time ago and never used. They're pretty cheap. And this is the coupler mounted on my wood lathe. So what we've been doing, just very, very slowly, is moving our cutter in, taking some cuts, going a little deeper, doing some cuts the other way, and just back and forth and back and forth. And I wish I would have taken some pictures before of showing how kind of wonky and out around this side was before, but right now we're nice and true. It's not gorgeous on this side. We could polish this up a little bit, but this is going to be towards the motor. But the most important thing is that we're pretty straight here, and we could take a couple more licks, but this is pretty true on there. So this arrangement here, we've got this C-clamp to our ways over here. There's a bar, pretty heavy-duty welded steel bar under there, and we're really crank down on that. We've got our two supports here. This has a lot of weight, and we're doing such small cuts going back and forth, and it's really, really fine chips. The other thing to keep in mind is, of course, if you're doing metal lathe work, you go much slower than you would with electric, or with wood rather. So turn this on. We're going about 500 revolutions per minute, so it's not super fast. The other thing I discovered by accident, and you can hear the rain on the roof here, we've got a lot of rain today. The other thing I discovered by accident with this Harbor Freight cross vise is there's a natural indentation under here. And that fit perfectly, just by luck, to these cutters on the end here. That just fit in there. So the nice thing is, this can't flip up when it's clamped up because it's held in place right here. And what I did with the other one was just give it some extra support, so as we cranked this down, then they just met each other, and then that just kept it really, really, really tight in there, so it wasn't going to pop off. So if you're in a pinch and you need to do a little bit of metal lathe work and you don't have a metal lathe, this worked for me in this situation. I'm not saying this is what you should or shouldn't do. I'm a big proponent of it's your shop, it's your rules, and you do what works for you and what you're comfortable with. I was okay with trying this, and in this situation this seems to be okay. Even though we are heading towards wintertime, I do hope in the next month or so to get that modified Sears motor on the boat and try it out and see what that does. This one right here, a lot of folks have asked about this. This is not mine. This is borrowed from a friend, and this is basically a golf cart motor. And this was fun to play with. Learned a lot from this, and my friend that loaned this to me, I am so appreciative of that. I learned I wanted to do some things differently. He built this many years ago. And as cool as this is, it's very power hungry, and it wasn't the best solution for what I wanted to do, but I learned a lot from that. As far as this cross vise metal lathe thing goes, it's up to you. I think it's good to be creative and try different things. So, but everybody do what works for you, what you're comfortable with. It's your shop, it's your rules. Thanks very much for taking a look. And this just shows the coupler sitting on the motor here, and you can see how this had to be cut down because it was just too deep for this, and the shaft inside would have been too far in. So wanted to reduce this down and still have enough clearance for the set screw. So now we've got a pretty consistent space between the coupler and the motor. It's not perfect, but it's pretty close and fine for what I want to do. So let's see if we can turn this on, show what this looks like on here. There we go.